few questions in here. So just want to say hi to everybody before we start.
Yeah, of course. Obviously, as as always, a lot going on, but there's been a few unexpected developments in the last week. But first and foremost, thank you all for joining. We've got quite a good turnout in terms of numbers here today. Yes, so just to give everyone an update on the current TRN outage. So as we announced yesterday, we pushed through a major update yesterday about just over 24 hours ago, which was one in a series of key updates that we have to take the root network from its current alpha stage into more of a public beta, and work on some of the new feature updates and application launches. There has been a bug identified which wasn't present in the testnet deployment, which we have identified that essentially there is, let me just find the latest comms. So there's the root cause appears to be an issue causing CPU and memory to spike on the nodes, which leads to them shutting down. And we're currently working on designing and testing a fix for this. We'll be putting out some more official comms after our next internal status update in about 25 minutes time. So expect to have an update, another official update before midday New Zealand time. But I want to obviously reiterate that, this is the root network in its alpha state, and a lot of these updates that we have been working on are, direct pieces of direct features that have come out of the ongoing testing that we've been doing with you, the community. So just want to reiterate, thanks for your support and patience during this outage. I think that's basically all for that at this stage. I guess just as a note on that as well, obviously that will have an impact on the distribution of the root rewards for Quest 3. But that is still expected to happen this week.
And I guess that's all we need to say about Quest 3 rewards at this point. Anything more you want to add regarding how they're what's happening behind the scenes and the process involved with getting those out to people and completing that quest?
Yeah, so it's been a lot more of a manual process than previous quests or challenge rewards because of the number of data points involved and the third party that we're working with. It's not as straightforward as previous distributions that we've done, but the team are working diligently to action that as soon as we have the network return to full functionality.
Cool. I know we're all looking forward to those. Next on my list is we've got a fluff bridge to TRN, the very first fluff to be on the root network. That was pretty exciting. I know it got a lot of coverage on Twitter and other media accounts as well. Would you like to add anything to that? Why it came about in that way, or would you like me to talk to it?
I mean, I actually, you were the kind of one of the key people behind it, so I'm happy for you to talk to it from the XRP perspective. But I guess just to, there are a lot of people wanting to understand the logic behind that. And for us, I had previously mentioned that we were already working to bring the rest of our Futureverse ecosystem collections over to the root network. And we saw an opportunity to test out that process with a key figure from the XRPL community. And we wanted to kind of make that an opportunity to, extend the, not an olive branch, I guess, but, bring this other community on the journey with us to experience, what that process looks like. But, Scott, you were instrumental in pulling that together. So feel free to add some additional notes there.
Yeah, I wanted Eri to join our community in a way where she went through all the steps involved. So that meant, bridging XRP from the XRPL onto the root network, setting up that future pass. It really was a guided tour all the way through. And it was really important also to have her purchase that fluff, on mark, using XRP, and then having that in her future pass account where she could see it. She'll also be getting rooted at some time in the near future where she'll be able to stake it. So it's about including her in the whole process going through, and making sure she felt involved and welcome, like we want all the XRP community to feel. And once again, it was an opportunity. Like, this is the first fluff on the Root network. So I didn't want to miss that opportunity. I wanted to make it something special, and hopefully we did that.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, you just reminded me of something. There was some commentary I saw around the questioning why we posted that update yesterday regarding staking. If the network was down, I'll completely own that. That was an oversight on my part. I'd been working on getting that announcement live before the network went down yesterday morning, and it was a complete oversight from my side that I had that as a task I needed to complete in my backlog, and so worked on actually just getting that announcement live without actually taking a step back to think, oh, well, they can't actually update their nominations with the network in its current state. So I'll completely own that one. That was an oversight on my part. But yeah, I was just keen to ensure that we got that announcement out as soon as possible, and that's something that we will reiterate and reinforce over the coming weeks if we see that there are still a lot of people oversubscribed to that validator.
Yeah, 100%. We want to make sure everyone's getting the most out of what we're doing, and we're all learning along the way. There are so many moving parts with this. Now, another question that's just come in is, what's the latest with Silo? Are we able to add anything there?
So I can't give any official update apart from saying that there is a lot of work being done in the background on Silo, and I think Aaron had already mentioned this on Twitter, but we will be posting a full update to Silo and its role within the larger Futureverse ecosystem by the end of the year. So expect to see some updates come through on that front.
Here's a question. Did you know that Aaron was going to be hiding leaks or alpha in the videos on Mark? I didn't know that was going to be happening.
I mean, I wasn't explicitly told up front, but I know Aaron and his propensity to let stuff leak. So I'm not surprised. And it's actually been cool to see the community actually dig in and find some of this stuff.
I mean, we miss Brooke, Leaky Brooke, doing all this stuff. So at least Aaron's dropping some stuff around, because the next question is, any additional details the team can share around the AFA carts?
Nothing at this stage. There was a little leak that came out through Mark, but there will be a lot of information coming out regarding that in the coming weeks.
It's so hard because there's so much we can't give information in because it's all got to happen in the right order. I'm reading through the next one.
I know, right? And there's so much coming before Christmas as well, but I'd love to be able to give some more insights into that. But the various product and marketing teams will kill me if I start taking a leaky approach.
We know that so many aspects of this whole ecosystem require the brain. So this next question is, when Gen 2 brain mining will come back into play? Anything?
So no confirmed date on that yet, but it is planned, and part of it is, there's a multitude of factors there in terms of bringing it to the root network, but also ensuring that we have multiple use cases in play for the brains as well. So you will start to see some specific utility coming down the pipe shortly as well.
Cool. I've got a couple of Cool Cats questions here. I'm going to try and roll them into one because I think they can be answered pretty much like that. All right. The Cool Cats partnership, the decision to launch their massive collectibles and digital upgrade to the system on Polygon versus Root. And can you please explain the benefit for the holders of the Cool Cats?
So I think in terms of the Polygon versus Root decision, Polygon is a network that is out there and fully live, whereas Root Network is still in alpha. So we can understand why external parties and partners would choose to prioritize launching on a already well established network. But I think key thing to remember with all of this sort of stuff is that our goal with the Root Network as a whole isn't to just kind of lock people in so that they are, you're committed to the Root Network and that's it. Our goal is, at the end of the day, interoperability and invisible technology. So when you have interoperability cross-chain, it then really becomes down to a question of, well, okay, we're running these services on multiple different chains, but over time, which of these chains is giving us the best functionality, the lowest cost, the most usability, most utility, most interoperability, etc. So really, when I see things like this and partners, like Cool Cats or Bank of the Future, Immersive, whoever it may be, choosing to launch on other chains as well as Root, I actually see that as a positive because it provides another on-ramp for people from other communities, such as people that are working on Polygon, to be pulled over to the Root Network in the long term when it comes to us continuing to deliver more and more functionality across the network.
Okay.
And I guess there was a part to that which was just about what is the benefit in the future from Cool Cats partnership. Well, anything that expands our ecosystem, that brings more eyes onto our network, onto our products, and that drives more utility towards the Root token is a net positive. It's fairly straightforward.
Yeah, I can't wait till we don't know what chain we're even operating an app on, where it shouldn't even matter what chain it is. That time will come. It should be invisible, but not soon enough for some of us. Now, there's one last one regarding the Cool Cats in their marketplace. There are a few comms around that the Futureverse was building it. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so the Cool Cats marketplace itself is actually being developed by us in partnership with Mark. It doesn't make sense.
Hold on. We got a hot mic down there. Can we get a mod to mute a mic or two?
Good. Just basically that it is being developed in partnership with the Mark team. It's no sense in reinventing the wheel when it comes to something like this and building something entirely new from scratch. That was obviously announced some time ago, but yeah, it's basically us working with the Halo Lab team to utilize all of the work that they've done to build something that's a little bit more custom for the Cool Cats team.
Makes sense. Now, I'm just reading through this next question as we go, and it's quite a big one regarding the AMA and the XRPL devs, right? So, right, with the use of relatively new XRPL features, including AMM, they're wondering, do we have any external dev team talent from the XRPL? And even if the AMM doesn't pass XRPL vote, which it's going to take a while to even get to that point, any reason why it can't be deployed native on Root? Well, yeah, there is. And what happens if the AMM or other XRPL functionality have issues and need patches, or in worst case, pauses? PL questions.
So, yes, we have strong XRPL internal talent. We also work very closely with the XRPL team directly. I can't really, make a concrete statement as to what would happen regarding, the AMM vote and what happens if that doesn't pass. But suffice to say that regardless of what happens on that front, we will always be exploring our own solutions for these kind of core problems. So if, for example, AMM wasn't to pass on XRPL, there's no reason that we wouldn't consider implementing something similar on our side.
The AMM is some really clever tech, the way it has all the arbitrage opportunities for the liquidity pools, and it's just amazing. We all need liquidity.
it ties perfectly into a core fundamental of the root network that we've said from day one, which is this kind of any token economy. So yeah, we certainly would always be continuing to explore the best way to implement that.
I've only got one more question here, guys. So if you're in the audience and you've got a question, now is the time to start thinking about getting poised to ask it, because how will the DAO mentioned in the white paper work? Root holders can vote, or will there be a different mechanism?
Honestly, I am not sure. I will have to get back to you on that one. I saw that one only came through this morning, so I haven't had a chance to take it to the team internally. But I will get an update for that for you regarding that, and I'll respond directly into that channel.
Yep, it's just another example. If you ask us a question, we will do our best to answer it, and if we can't, then we'll go and find those answers and we'll bring them back next week. Now, does anyone else have a sticky question that we probably can't answer that we can get back to you on, and that's in the audience today? Now's your chance.
Yeah, BTC Hornet here. Hello, guys. Thank you. Great update. Thank you, Alex. I did have a question posted in the 30 Minutes Max on Thingies. So I'm just going to read it.
Yep.
Last year, Fluff World announced it would donate 400 unminted Thingies to the Futureverse Foundation so they can harvest mycelium to fund charitable causes. And there's 3 quick questions. What is the status of these Thingies? Have they been minted? That's the first question. And second question is, go ahead.
So to that first question, no, I don't believe they have been minted at present. In fact, if I just bring up the on-chain data right now, no, they haven't been minted at present. Obviously, there has been some significant changes in the broader strategy since that was announced, about a year and a half ago, I think it was, including, the shift and the launch of the Root network, the shift to Root token, etc. But the Futureverse Foundation is still very much a thing. Alexandra and Keanu are still very much key patrons of it. And there is some development going on in the background about how we best utilize these in a way that will help us achieve in a way that'll help us achieve that mission.
Okay, I think that actually answers all 3 of my questions. So perfect.
Cool.
You nailed it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Brooks in Sydney at the moment for South by Southwest, and I managed to sit down and enjoy a lunch with him a couple of days ago. And I asked for him for what was his leakiest moment, and those Thingies came up, which I never knew about. And he told me the whole story behind the Thingies, and Brooke being the worst, leakiest person on the team. But
I still want to know when Thingy Alpha.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't gonna say it because I don't want to say it every time. But you could be leakier. I mean, I don't want to say that you're too leaky.
Oh man, yeah, I run a tight ship. I plug all those leaks as quick as possible. I've got that extra strict duct tape.
So
okay, well,
he'll never live that down by the sounds of it.
Yeah, no, I'm still buying Thingies, so I'm Thingy motivated.
That's good to hear. Good to hear. Just on South by Southwest as well. It's great to catch up with Aaron. The talk that he was doing with Robbie from Immutable and another guy, Gus, was all about unicorn founders and what it's like to raise capital in Australia and New Zealand, hiring staff externally and the benefits to it. And there's a lot of AI talk and everything as well, but definitely nice to see Aaron upstage in that company. And it was a really great chat. And the question I'll share with you that was asked was, what would you do different if you were to start all over again? And all 3 of the unicorn founders up there said the same thing. When that first amount of capital came in, that first amount of funding came in, they would have slowed down and sat on that for a bit longer and really taken their time to deploy it. But all of them apparently went straight out, guns blazing, to start kicking goals and ticking off boxes. And in hindsight, they all would have just taken a breath, sat on the money just a little bit longer, and then deployed it in a different way. So it was a really great talk, and Aaron represented us very well, as always.
And I think in that there is a good lesson that can be applied in all of life, which is nothing almost everything is not as urgent as it seems, and that what is, and this is something that I've been going through myself in terms of communication and how we engage, that it's always best to just take a second, take a step back, take a breath, and then reapproach things with a clear head, because it's very easy when emotions are high and there's a lot going on to get kind of carried away. So yeah, I think that's something that can apply far beyond just funding when it comes to business.
Yeah, 100%. Any more questions coming from the audience? Love to have you up.
I can see a few here in the channel that have come through. I see someone here has just reshared a tweet from Daniel Smith Dev, so I'll speak broadly to that. I mean, we've been posting announcements and updates. We're not going to just provide updates because someone's provided updates. We'll provide our updates in our time as our team work through the process. In terms of the ability for the validator community to vote on proposals, I'm not across that, but that'll be something that's covered within the launch of the full launch of the Root Network. Obviously, Dan Smith Dev isn't currently within the Discord after the actions the other week, but I have been reviewing his case as he reached out. And as I said in general previously, anyone who has been banned or had severe moderation taken against them can present a case for why they should be allowed back in. We are currently reviewing that case, and we'll make an informed decision there. So on that as well, we're also reviewing our internal moderation process. We'll be posting some updates as well to make that more transparent for everyone within the rules and roles section of the Discord. But one thing I really want to reiterate here is that I understand that a lot of people are very passionate and very invested, both emotionally and financially, in what we're building. But it is crucial that we keep the community as kind of welcome and opening as possible, especially as we continue to roll out more products and bring more and more, millions and millions more eyes onto what we're building. We want people to have a great experience when they come into that community, and that applies on so many different fronts. It can be very overwhelming to come into like a community like ours for the first time, and if we don't make an extra effort to make an extra very welcoming place for people, then often they'll come in once and then they'll just walk away. So I just and I want to reiterate here, I'm not asking for just toxic, unrealistic positivity either. We very much want critical feedback. We want people to raise their concerns, but we want them to do it in the right way, in a constructive way that will allow us to act upon it, as opposed to kind of just kicking things off within the general chat, for example. And once again, it's very important to take note of how you're communicating, because a lot of the times people can use very inflammatory language, which can really kind of make mountains out of molehills when it comes to some of the stuff that we're working on. So anyway, just reiterate those points. I've discussed this a fair bit within Discord over the last few days as well.
And what would you recommend on that? Like, would it be best if you have a genuine, like, real concern to open a ticket or start a conversation or tag one of the community managers?
Yeah, so tickets are always the best port of call. Our support team are on pretty much 24/7, or someone will be on within, I'd say max probably an hour downtime, an hour or two. But yeah, if there's something that is a genuine concern, then 100% please follow that official course. It is important as well that when you look at some of the discussions that are going on, there will be people that will often come in and present what they see as issues with what we're doing from their perspective, and sometimes they may be presented in a very technical way, which doesn't, your average layman doesn't understand that technical terminology, or doesn't understand the nuance to the situation, and that can kind of...
Is we going to pay for it?
Oh, we got a hot mic. Not sure where that came from. But anyway, so it's, and that sort of language can cause a lot of fear, especially for people that don't have that kind of understanding or experience. So, but we, especially when it comes to the security side, we are very stringent on how we roll out our security practices, and things that might be presented as being big security issues, we've done our due diligence on them, and we wouldn't be presenting or launching something with these major security issues. But you get a lot of times that people, especially these kind of bug farmers, will come in and claim that there's all these big security issues with things like iframes, which really don't pose a security threat in situations like this. So it's important to understand the nuance, and that's where it's crucial that things are communicated in a very productive way to avoid that sort of those inflammatory statements.
Yep, couldn't agree more. As we're all working really hard to start bringing new communities in, just think of it as like a little sub-quest, guys. How can you look through that feed and make it as an inviting place to want to hang around and stay in as possible? That is your quest. That is your quest for me. We've got 1 minute to go. I got a meeting to jump into, but I can hang around for another question if we've got one. Any more questions coming up through?
There is a bunch here in the channel I can quick fire through if no one's wanting to jump up.
Let's do it, mate. Go for it.
All right. So, what's for lunch? I'm actually having a smoothie bowl right now. I've started doing that recently. I've found eating carbs in the morning makes me very slow in the day, and when I'm often working over 12 hours a day, I'm now trying to get this perfect balance of caffeine and nootropics and healthy eating and exercise to make that sustainable. Is the launch of the root token on a centralized exchange dependent on AMM with an XRP at all? No, it is not. Not sure if anyone asked, but Mo mentioned Atom Cars in 2023. Are we still on track for that? Yes, we are still on track for Atom Cars in 2023. And nice pun there with on track. Any update from Mark? Quest 3 rewards. Yes, so I touched on that at the start of the call. Those are still planned to go up this week. Obviously, there's with the disruption to the root network, that's caused a bit of a interruption there and means that it's taking slightly longer, but that is still planned for this week, and we will provide an update if anything changes on that front. Any updates on arenas for bosses or utility for primes? No, nothing that I can give at this stage, but we will post some official updates in due course. Those are all conversation. Any plans from Mark to integrate immersive to allow for credit card purchases? So what is actually more planned there is for like immersive integration through FuturePass itself, so that any platform or application or service that uses FuturePass will be able to utilize credit card purchases and that sort of functionality that's integrated into immersive. So essentially that will be done at a platform level as opposed to at a service level or an application level. Will this month's quest be affected by Q3 rewards spilling into next week? Unlikely, but we will post updates as to the next quest. We still have that quest planned to go out towards the end of this month. And that's all I can see from here. I've got another couple minutes, and then I'm going to jump into this root network status update call. But if anyone has any last questions, feel free to jump up now and we can discuss.
Yeah, I got a quick question. I saw a trailer for a TV show about crypto in New Zealand featuring yourself, Aaron, David, and Brooke. Have you watched it at all, or have you seen any of the episodes that you were in?
Yeah. So I watched the first 3 episodes. The first one was just a broad overview. I only featured very briefly in that one. Second one was all about Easy Crypto, which is the New Zealand-based. They're not an exchange. What's the word I'm looking for? Broker, I guess. And the third one was actually all about us. So it was the journey of non-fungible labs kind of into Futureverse. So that's primarily Aaron, Brooke, and myself speaking on that one. I haven't watched any of the others yet, but I think there's a question about actually streaming it into the Discord, and I can see if we can get Monty to facilitate that for you guys.
Yeah, that's perfect. I mean, it saves us having to watch, all of it, unless everybody wants to watch all of it. But if we at least know that episode 3 is the episode to watch that's, focused around this eco, that's great info. I appreciate it.
100%.
You like the way it turned out? It's always weird seeing yourself on screen, I'm sure.
It is. It really was. It might sound weird, but I'm not someone who likes the sound of his own voice. But it was what I found. Well, it was recorded almost a year ago, so I was concerned that a lot of what was being discussed would be quite out of date, knowing how quickly this industry moves. But I think they did a really good job of it personally, and honestly, I'm just happy to see some coverage in the New Zealand media that isn't down the kind of scaremongering skepticism route that just most mainstream media seems to take when it comes to anything Web3. They've approached it from a really constructive, informative, educational perspective. So I was really, really happy with the way that turned out.
Yeah, it looks good. I know Monty was kind of saying the same thing, that the people that produced it normally have a little bit of a negative approach. Is it like a cable TV? Is it just like a streaming service? Or I looked at it and it was like New Zealand TV or something. So I'm like, I can't watch it.
TVNZ's one of our main public. I guess, are they public? I don't know what the full politics is behind it. But yeah, they run like some of the main TV channels here in New Zealand. And they have a streaming service. You might be able to stream it yourself if you set up a VPN. But yeah, so this was done in partnership with TVNZ by a company called Real Factory, who I believe are more of just an independent documentary team. And yeah, they took the time to really dig into it and try and understand it as much as possible and speak to the relevant sort of industry experts within the country, as opposed to, you have this general narrative within mainstream media that, crypto's a scam and blockchain's just, a solution to a problem that doesn't exist or whatever. But it was nice to actually see them really break it down in an easily understandable, digestible way that addresses it from that perspective of, this is tech. Tech in of itself is not good or bad. Just because people perpetrate scams using emails doesn't mean everyone says emails are bad or emails are scams. So yeah, I was really happy with the way that it turned out.
Awesome. Glad to hear your insight and excited to watch it. Hopefully Monty can stream it.
Yeah, we'll make that happen. I've got to jump, guys. I need to go and join this call with the Root Network team and get into status update, and then I will post an official announcement again within the hour.